Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hand.
We Makeroe.
I request that we remain standing and say a word of prayer. Dear Lord Jesus, we thank you for this time and for gathering us here. We commit the procession and the deliberation are going to take place in this conference into your hands. And we pray that everything will go smoothly and peacefully to the conclusion. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you. You can have your seats. I'm going to request the director of the Makerere University Rotary Peace Center to give her opening remarks.
A very good morning, friends. The Vice Chancellor, our guest speaker, the Deputy Principal, all protocol observed. Dear fellows, Cohort 1, the firstborns, and Cohort 3, it's exciting to see you this morning. I will invite my boss, the person in charge of the Committee on Academic Affairs, to give the remarks on behalf of the center. Thank you. Professor Bantebya Grace Chomhendo.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. We are super excited to be here at this very moment. The Vice Chancellor, Makerere University, Professor Nawangwe Barnabas, the Principal Chus, represented by Professor Awich, and our keynote speaker, Professor Sejaka, and all of you fellows who are here, the staff of the center, and other guests that I invited, but more so also from the Rotary Club Kampala and other areas. We are really glad to have this major conference that we are having today, the Capstone Conference, celebrating community service for over 100 years. This is so critical for us, and as Makerere, we are proud to be hosting this conference. The center was launched on 9th January 2020. How many years are now? It's 2 years, eh? And we were really proud to be the host of this very key and important center, and it was launched. And the first cohort joined in immediately, and the following year, they arrived in February 2021. They spent 10 weeks with us, and we learned a lot. They also learned a lot. We believe they learned a lot from that experience. And we followed through with their social initiative projects. Many of I want also to acknowledge the supervisors and the lecturers at the center who have been working closely with our fellows on their project. As of today, we have 54 fellows in the third cohort. So, and we clap ourselves because this is not a mean achievement. And so, these 54, the fellows in the 3 cohorts from 27 countries. So we are spreading the wings, hasn't it? And as an academic chair of this committee, we receive very many applications. And the sieving through process is really tight because at the core of this training is the service to the community. And all of you who are chosen actually qualify, and we think your projects are good for humanity, are good for our communities in promoting peace, promoting stability, and also growth, supporting the vulnerable groups, and supporting our communities. So all those measures are taken into account as they select. Every fellow represents a peace initiative, and we read through them. And today, we are going to have to listen to a number of those peace initiatives, brilliant ideas from our fellows. Professor Nawang VC, you will be really proud of the fellows and also proud of Makerere. On this continent, having these great fellows developing initiatives that have potential and are able to really promote peace and develop the communities. And they will be sharing them today. So I'd really want to thank all of you who are here and all the supporters who have worked with you to get to this point. The course itself is very practical. It exposes the fellows to practical experiences. It involves visiting different centers, different units. It's what they call participatory learning experiences. And it's actualized in this program. And the fellows are able to participate, are able to contribute, but also learn from each other, but also learn from the centers they visit across Uganda, but also in Rwanda. And we also learn from the fellows initiatives from their countries and what is going on. So it's blended and it's very rich. And we are very proud as Makerere to be the ones with the support of the Rotary clubs in Uganda and also the Kampala, but also the Makerere. The Rotary Club is really thanked so much for the tremendous support they have really given to in establishing of this center, but also holding it up and supporting it. I know the Vice Chancellor will thank the international Rotary group, but I think we are very, very proud. As Makerere, we are proud of our Vice Chancellor. We thank you, sir, for spearheading. The Vice Chancellor is really a very busy person, but he never misses functions for this center. Even as the chair of the board, he will always turn up. And I can, say, I know he's not going to say it. One day he was not feeling well, but he was there on Zoom. They asked me to chair as he's coming in. He was not well, but he came and was with that. That is the level of commitment that we are talking about, that we have the leadership for this program. We thank our College of Humanities, the principal through you, Professor Wich. We thank the college, which has really been very instrumental in guiding this center and all the work that has been done, providing the technical, academic support for this program, and all the supports, approving programs, running. And finally, the head of the center, Helen. I think the fellows call her the mother of the center, and I think they are very right, because she's left light looking for mattresses. She's looking for your registration, academic papers. She's looking for travel in case you have missed your flight. So they call her the mother. But thank all of you and all the staff of the center. You're thanked. I really want to end here and thank everybody and wish you the best in these 2 days. We're looking forward to learning a lot from what has come out of this presentation of your initiatives, and we're also looking forward to listening to the keynote speech for what the issues that we are paying attention to. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Bantebia, and thank you everyone for being here with us this morning. My name is Isaac Tibasima, and I would like to welcome you to this Capstone Conference for the Rotary Peace Fellows at Makerere University. Next on our program is Dr. Eric Awich Ochen, who is my boss in the College of Humanities. And after him, I'll request him to invite the Vice Chancellor to address us. Thank you very much.
I request that I speak without the mask. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, the district governor for Rotary, although I don't know the exact district, but I recognize you. Rotarians here, our fellows, senior academic staff, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. It is my privilege to be here today, this morning, to make some short remark as we recognize the phenomenal work of our fellows and of the center. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I take note that this center is at the center of what Makerere Strategic Plan 2020-2030 focuses on, trying to enhance and increase our internationalization and also our engagement with our local communities. We all recognize that conflict is a defining characteristic of the human existence. One of the most contemporary conflict that we have at the moment, the one which is making news in all the news channels, is the conflict in Ukraine that many of us do not understand why it should even be happening. But what we know that from time immemorial, conflict has always been there in human society. We've had conflicts here in Uganda, in Western Uganda, in Northern Uganda, our neighbors in South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and many other African countries. But I also take note that although conflict is there and we cannot run away from it, it also provides opportunity for peace building, social and community engagements, giving us the platform with which we can build peaceful coexistence. And I would like to recognize the fellows that this conference is focusing on the presentation of what they have been doing, their social and community initiatives. We hope that you'll be able to showcase here what you've done in small ways that can have very big impact. The center also provides an opportunity for building a global constituency to address issues of conflict and peace building. Without wasting much time, I would now like to take this opportunity to invite my boss, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, to address the audience. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wich, the Principal, College of Humanities and Social Sciences, our keynote speaker, Professor Sejaka, the Governor Rotary and all the fraternity of Rotary who are present, the members of the board of the Rotary Peace Center, the management of the center, our beloved fellows, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted this morning to welcome you to Makerere University for this very important conference. Makerere University is proud to be hosting so far the only Rotary Peace Center on the African continent. We do not take it for granted, and we would like to once again express our gratitude to Rotary International and the Rotary Peace Center for selecting us to host this conference. Needless to say, Makerere University has had an experience of the absence of peace and the effects of that. It is therefore important that we as Makerere University participate in this program and make our humble contribution to making people understand the importance of maintaining peace in the whole world. I am therefore very happy that we have been hosting and are hosting the Rotary Fellows, the Rotary Peace Fellows. I have had opportunity to read about the work that several of you are already doing, the projects you are involved in, and I'm therefore very proud of you as our fellows. I do hope that you who have already passed through here have enjoyed your stay, and that you are going to take the knowledge that you received here to the practical use to ensure that we minimize conflict, or that at least we promote the peace in the world. I take this opportunity to thank the Rotary clubs in Uganda here, and also the district Rotary governor, who have been very instrumental in supporting our hosting of the Rotary Peace Centers. I do thank the board and the management for ensuring that the Peace Center runs well and that the fellows are able to fully participate in the programs that we have put in place for them. I take this opportunity to welcome back to Makerere our keynote speaker. Thank you for accepting to come and make the keynote on this occasion. I'll hopefully have opportunity to meet the fellows again during and after the conference, but at this juncture, it is just my pleasure to welcome you once again and to declare this conference open. Thank you. I do apologize that I must step out for some time, but I'll make every effort to return and be with you for the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chancellor, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe. I'm going to request my principal and our guest speaker to join the Vice Chancellor down here. We're going to take a little small group photo, and then we will proceed. We will be joined later by some guests who are having a funeral service, but they'll join us in a short while as soon as that is done. So we're going to have a group photo, and then we will proceed with our program. Thank you.
Kagusomba kagutema bamwongere baba sebo teyanzege kagutema bamwongere kagutema ne kagukono kagutema bamwongere teyanze fe kagutema bamwongere teyanzege.
Welcome back from that interlude. So we are going to have our keynote speaker, and our keynote speaker is CPA Samuel Sejaka. I hope that's the right pronunciation. Professor Samuel Sejaka is a Ugandan accountant, academic, and businessman. He is a partner in Sejaka Kawase and Company's certified public accountants. Between 1991 and 2014, he lectured at Uganda's oldest tertiary institution, which is Makerere University, later the Makerere University Business School, and rose to the position of deputy principal. He then helped establish Abacus Business School, Uganda's premier executive education institution, which merged in 2019 with management and accountancy training company, MAT. He is the current country team leader, principal of MAT Abacus Business School. Professor Sejaka's experience encompasses over 25 years of experience in management and directorship, including governance and oversight of public interest companies, supervision of assurance functions, and strategy formulation for growth. Would like to welcome Professor Samuel Sejaka to present his keynote address, and you're most welcome, sir. Thank you.
I don't know where to start, and because I didn't sleep the whole night because of excitement, I made sure that whatever I am going to say is documented and written. So I am going to present this commencement speech word for word. I kept reliving it throughout the night, and I woke up very tired, and I didn't know why I was very tired. But that was all because of the excitement of giving this commencement speech. Because as you will learn from my speech, what you're doing is very close to my heart. So I'm not very good at protocol, so I will assume all protocol has been observed, and I'll get straight into my speech. I want to start by thanking you for the opportunity to give this first commencement speech to the Cohort 1 Peace Fellows under Rotary International's Social Change Initiative. For me, being a recent Rotary inductee, I only became a Rotarian very recently, after very many years of persuasion. This is an enormous honor, and I do not take it for granted. That's why I didn't sleep. Also, being here accords me the opportunity, as you heard the Vice Chancellor saying, to renew contact with my alma mater, where, as a student and then a teacher and professor, I feel I was forced to depart rather unceremoniously. But I'll come back to that shortly. First, I have taken the opportunity to acquaint myself with the program for the next 2 days and the incredible work that some of you have been doing. Congratulations. I gather that there are 3 key themes in your work. These are community engagement, peace building, and development. I also further note that your efforts in these 3 thematic areas focus on 3 groups. These groups are women, the youth, and persons with disabilities. It has also not escaped my mind that to do the kind of work you are doing requires a certain amount of idealism. Idealism is really in short supply in this world. As I speak now, there is a woman being subjected to gender violence, being raped or murdered. There are millions of youth who are hungry, homeless, and jobless. There are also hundreds of thousands of persons with disabilities who are being discriminated and maltreated. I think that this inequitable treatment of women, youth, and persons with disabilities certainly does not require much contentious debate as to its existence. So we are all agreed on that. Amidst the myriad conflicts taking place all over the world, women, the youth, and persons with disabilities are the ones who are most affected. That is why I must commend you for being cognizant of these issues, for siding with the disadvantaged and taking the higher ground. I am sure that in doing this work, you have asked yourselves, how can we create a better world for the disadvantaged members of society? And how can we reduce or minimize the incidence of human conflict? Unfortunately, I do not have the answers to those questions. Equally, being a product of the school of hard knocks myself, I do somehow understand why this inequity persists. Over the years, I have come to the realization that inequity and conflict are inevitable, especially from those who do not support the contestation of ideas. That is the rub of the green. Sometimes you win, many times you lose. Today, I have 3 personal perspectives that I want to share with you. These perspectives reflect my own experience, but may perhaps help you as you go forth in your newfound vocation. The first one is about failure. I have failed countless times, such that it is rather par for the course. But perhaps the most interesting and educative of those failures relates to my earlier reference, and you had the Vice Chancellor say the same, to be visiting Makerere University again. I joined this august institution as a lecturer. Probably some of you were not yet born. In 1991. Over the years, I can see you smiling. Over the years, I rose to become an associate professor and deputy principal of Makerere University Business School, a school actually that I helped to found. My expectations were that one day I would be the principal of that business school and perhaps vice chancellor of this university. Alas, it was not to be. In 2014, I exited the university because of conflict with my supervisor. That conflict was inevitable because, as I have said, conflict is the constant outcome of complex circumstances and variables. In a sense, then, I would say that I failed in my ambitions to rise to the pinnacle of the ivory tower. I have since learned that it is okay to fail. There cannot be new beginnings if there is no closure to old ones. Failure, like conflict, is unfortunately one of the ways in which old orders are resolved. Looking back today, I would not be at the head of Matt Abacus Business School, which is the premier institution for professional education in this country. My failure led to new beginnings. As the Japanese say, fall 7, rise 8. I did rise again. My second perspective is about privilege. If you do not know it, I want to say to you that our being here today is largely because of the privilege of birth and education we have been accorded. Over time, we begin to take that privilege for granted. The privilege of education, 3 square meals, a roof over our heads, and good health. It is not until that privilege is taken away that we realize how lucky we have been. On January 11th, 2011, while going about my business, I received a call from the Central Police Station to the effect that the editor of Summit Business Review, a one Mustafa Mogisa, had been arrested. Being a director in that company, being a director in the company that owned the publication, I was being invited to go to help the police with investigations. On reaching the police station, I too was arrested and thrown into the police dungeons, where I spent about 6 hours. The reason for our arrest was a cartoon drawn by a former schoolmate of mine, famously known as Fred Snogi Senoga, who now lives in the United States. The cartoon showed the president cutting a cake in the shape of the map of Uganda. And the police officers who were interrogating me assumed that the president was cutting up this cake to divide the country. So why were we promoting the division of Uganda? Needless to say, that was not the reason for the cartoon. This one had a good ending. We were only released in the evening, courtesy of good friends who are well connected. Later, I learned that the then Inspector General of Police, who ironically was incarcerated a few years later, had ordered that we should not be released. I had left home a free man and expected to return in the evening to my family. Here I was now, undressed and demeaned by semi-literate policemen in the name of the state. This arrest made me appreciate the essence of freedom and the privilege associated therewith. So then I ask you to imagine the women, youth, and persons with disabilities who have never known anything better than violence, deprivation, and loneliness. We should never become so arrogant as to take freedom and its privileges for granted. That privilege has been bestowed upon us by the great architect of the universe. We should instead, as most of you are doing, use that privilege to help create a more harmonious and equitable society. I therefore must applaud you for the work you are doing. Please keep working. My third and last perspective has to do with what is known as intellectual dishonesty of the elite. Here, I am reminded of the words of Friedrich Niemoller. First, they came for the socialists. And I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unions. And I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. And I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me. And there was no one left to speak for me. I am indeed honored that you are speaking for those who face injustice. A lot of the injustice we see in the world is a result of the elite not speaking up against that injustice. Our silence, because I cannot disassociate myself from the elite, is a form of complicity in the abuse occasioned against fellow travelers, especially the women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Every day here at home, we see citizens' non-derogable rights trampled as we watch in silence. We have avoided having an honest, deliberate, and comprehensive conversation about our country. because that conversation may occasion adverse effects on us personally and professionally. In short, we may be professors, but we are cowards at the same time. Coming off this last weekend's events, which I need not relate to you, one can only say that our intellectual dishonesty and silence, therefore, has led us into the theater of the absurd. That silence is loud and telling. When good men and women remain silent, they too become complicit in the abuse of human rights. You, the Cohort 1 Peace Fellows, have shown a difference and are confronting the urgent issues of our times. I applaud your efforts and I do wish you success in your endeavors. God bless you all, and thank you so much.
Join me to thank our keynote speaker, Professor Sejaka. Prof, we cannot wait to have you back. If not in the main Makerere, at least as a Rotarian in the Peace Center, we shall be happy to have you on board. Friends, we were joined by none other than our very own, the Vice President of Rotary International. Those who were around at the beginning, I will invite you to look at your notebooks on the front page. The man holding the dove, launching the Rotary Peace Center. The man behind the Rotary Peace Centers coming to the continent, because he's the Vice President of Rotary International from the African continent, Babalola Yinka. It is not a mean achievement for us to have him here. Cohort 1 as firstborns, you're really blessed. And I would like to, without allowing him settle, I would like to invite him to say a word before we break off. It's always an honor to have him. He has not only stopped at this Peace Center, but he has gone on to continue collecting funds for Rotary Peace Centers. And I don't want to preempt. I know he'll be telling us about the next center which is coming. We're always excited to host you. The Vice Chancellor was here and he was really expecting you, and he said he will be back. So he clearly told me you can't leave before you say hello. Please have the podium and say a word, sir. Thank you.
Good morning. You know, I tried to check my wristwatch to make sure that I don't generate any conflict by telling you good morning when it's afternoon. Well, it's my pleasure to be here, and thank you, Dr. Ellen, for the introduction. I was actually Vice President of Rotary International for the year 2019-20. So you will hear Rotarians refer to me as PRIVP, which is Past Rotary International Vice President. But that does not detract from your other comments about my support and my continued support for the Peace Center here at Makerere, our only peace center on the African continent as at now. I think for the, shall I say, the first cohort, I'm glad that I could see some of your faces. I was only seeing photographs, and hopefully sometime today I'll get to have a handshake with some of you. And my dear friends and other Rotarians who are here, good morning to you also. Now, the Rotary Vision Statement says, we see a world where people unite and take action to make lasting change in our world, in our communities, and in ourselves. As you can imagine, there cannot be any lasting change in the absence of peace. So it should not surprise anybody that Rotary has a focus on peace. And we don't just have peace as an area of focus. It's one of our 7. We have 6 others, which I'm sure many of you will already know. Disease prevention and treatment, water and sanitation, hygiene, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, community development and economic empowerment. And of course, our newest was the environment. So those are the 7 areas of focus Rotary has. And as you may imagine, while peace is an area of focus, the remaining 6 areas of focus are also related to peace. Because you are becoming experts now as a cohorts. You know that you cannot have peace if there is hunger. You can't have peace if there is disease. You can't have peace in the absence of many things. Some of the things Rotary deals with are things that lead to conflict. So we are not just supporting peace by creating change makers, peacemakers, peace builders, as it were, providing capacity to people just like you, so I can be able to enhance our capacity for peace building in our communities. We are also working on all those basic elements that may lead to conflict. I was happy to see that the Institute of Economics and Peace is on the program, and that's a partnership with Rotary International also in support of the things that we do. So it's my pleasure to be here, and I'm happy I'm able to witness this first capstone as we have it. So enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Past Vice President Babalola Yinka. And at this point, I would like to invite Performing Arts to just give us a dance as we go for break tea. After break, we shall be having our very first presentation of Cohort 1, and it will be by Amina. So Performing Arts, please have the floor.
Machenyi ni mwebalo kuja mukuru chemihanda hamwe n'amabale. Bajenyi mwebalo kuja mukuru chemihanda imwarabamu. Bajenyi mwebalo kuja mukuru chemihanda imwarabamu. Bajenyi mwebalo kuja mukuru chemihanda. Bajenyi mwebalo kuja mukuru chemihanda imwarabamu. Bajenyi mwebalo kuja mukuru chemihanda imwarabamu. Mwebalo kuja mukuru chemihanda imwarabamu. Bajenyi mwebalo kuja mukuru chemihanda imwarabamu.
So for each of our presenters, we're going to have 20 minutes, and at the end of 20 minutes, we expect that you're done with your presentation. Amina is going to present the empowerment of women and youth through capacity building. Ronald will present on facilitating professional support services for persons with disability. Paul will present on youth conflict prevention and development in National Refugee Settlement. And Patience will present on training journalists in Zimbabwe on conflict-sensitive reporting. In our midst is our Dean of Students, Ms. Monica Waboli. You're most welcome to this gathering, and we're glad that you've taken time to be part of this event. Thank you very much. So, like I said, every presenter has 20 minutes, and we will start with Amina, and then we'll move on to Ronald, and we'll move on to Paul, and finally Patience will present. We hope that this should be done in the next 2 hours. Thank you very much. Amina.
So my project was based, location was in the Lower Puntland, state of Somalia, whereby I trained, I selected to train 45 young graduates, female graduates, out of 102 applicants, and we managed to graduate with 38 students. So the social initiative project was responding to one of the pillars of positive peace, human capital development, whereby I was also intending to also address poverty and also employment gap in Somalia and gender parity, where we have less female employment in both the government and the humanitarian sector. And since the project was not funded, and I could not source for extra funding due to my contractual and work agreement, and I have sent assistance and support of a local NGO that was working in peace and research, and I requested for them to give me the venue for the training since I was not able to hire a training venue. And upon presenting my project, the results, the outcome, and how I intended, the executive director of the organization liked the project, and he has willingly agreed to help beyond my request. It was only the venue, but they agreed to support me with the human resource, including providing me with the additional training facilitators, and I managed to undertake and implement the project through the support of PDRC, a site-based organization in Portland. And we intended programs, initially I included research, because PDRC was a site-based institution, and they had a pipeline project of training operators so that they can hire them or use them in their site work, and so that we have included a research training whereby the students have also undertaken they have done a 7 research project, which they will also be presenting to the public on 7th May. And to avoid the conflict of biasness from both the government and the local communities, and I recommended we do advertise the training opportunity online. And here we have used the PDRC Facebook page, since the page has more followers. The picture here is the orientation day, whereby we also start with the students to also take them through the project and how how we are going to run the project with them, and also here we consulted them on their time and availability on how they can also participate, fully participate. And the objective of the My Social Initiative was to empower young women to identify opportunities within and improve the social and economic conditions of the Somali community. Because if the economic status of women, they support the families of the extended families, and the Somali women and the pioneers and the community have survived through them. Since the war 1991, women will be able to provide and support them, especially the diaspora, people from the diaspora. Also to develop women leadership and enhance communication skill. In terms of leadership, Somalia we are lacking women participation in the politics. And in this also social initiative, I was also getting to also build young female leadership from grassroots, whereby they can also participate in politics and community work from the grassroots level. We also, the other objective was to empower women on knowledge and access and information sharing through coordination platform. And in these, the trainees, we kept them and introduced them to ministries, especially Ministry of Women and Ministry of Planning, and also to other existing women networks, so that they can help with their coordinations and for information, access to information. The picture in the side is me during the launch of the 4 months training, which we launched with the government and the Ministry of Women was the most of ceremony, including other ministries, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Planning. They have also attended, including humanitarian, some of humanitarian organizations. The social initiative's main achievement, I would say here, we have the leadership. We have incited leadership through young female, and they have actually formed a youth group. They decided to remain united and form a youth group, and their motive, the emotion they were saying was that if Amina can do alone, we can do as a group. And they have come up with a youth group, and they end up even registering the youth group with the Ministry of Planning. The public speaking, which is also a requirement for the political women in politics, which the true culture and the shyness. We have also, this is an area we worked with the students to also enhance the public speaking and how they can address audience, and they can also say the idea behind their moves. There was also a site on hand where they say I included this when I went to the back to the field to PDRC pipeline, and also to be an added advantage for the trainees, since PDRC will also engage them in their research and research numerators, which will also involve payment. We also have improved confidence in job applications, whereby during the training period, most like around 15 have also applied for job applications. So all of them have managed to be called for an interview, and one actually get a job after she presented in one of the PDRC talk. And also in this, we were also working with PDRC to also look for internship opportunities so that they can excel in the experience, because most of the jobs applications they require job experience, which due to the employment rate is difficult for the young graduates, especially the female graduates, to get experience. So the internship opportunity we see is an opportunity where they can learn, and also within that, so within the time, they can learn the organization, how to structure, so they can apply or work within the same organizations. And also, 5 of my students also managed to get temporary employment in TPAC, a transitional organization, was doing elections in Puntland. They did a pilot project of elections in Puntland for the first time, and in 3 districts, and some of them are working as administrators, as secretaries, and they have learned a lot. Also, we had the research groups from the government, good governance also going with them and do interviews at the polling station. where the IDPs in Puntland were given the opportunity to also participate and vote at the same time are also elected. These are the pictures of my students. They're working on the secretary and also interviewing the IDPs on how their feelings, on how they feel after voting for the first time in history of the 54 years. And also, and the other last picture is the student at the Ministry of Planning, where the Ministry of Planning was taking them through their role and mandates and what they do, and also the students here are able to ask them questions on how to engage them, especially coming up with internship policies, since it was difficult for us to get internship opportunity for them. And the Ministry of Planning is actually working on an internship policy, which they say by June it will be active. The process of the training was after we did the application, we received 102 applicants and we selected 45 because of the demand, but the initial targets of my social initiative in my initial proposal was 30, and we also managed to graduate with 37, and we had 8 dropouts, some also relocation to other places and some from university outside the country. The training, we had training through classes, and we also had motivational speakers coming up with every subject. It was coming with a professional motivational speaker, prominent person and well respected in the community, who was also acting as a role model for the students. Out of our 45 trainees, 37 managed to graduate, 26 were university graduates, and 19 were also university students, which also by the time we finished the implementations, they also graduated. The picture on the side is an MOU, and since I also signed an MOU with PDRC, this project so that we have clear roles and communications of what was doing what, and also to protect the PDRC assets. And this also, I was also consulted frequently with my mentors, Dr. Helen and Dr. Grace, and with their guidance, we managed to go along at the administration level. We also had the methodologies. We also had students that were taken through physicals, because I included in the trainings administrations, human resource, logistics, and finance, because those are basics departments in the offices, whereby most of the students were also from public administrations, and the office of the PDRC and the ministries, they also take them physically the findings what are required after they provided the training. These are the pictures and me presenting and the students in the class, and also the temporary work that some of the students were engaged in. In the conclusion, the picture, the conclusion, we have the profile of the youth, their profile, I took a picture of their profile page. They already come up with a profile and a name or IAD, and they have also registered with the Ministry of Planning. And the students have committed to remain united and form a youth group, and the value of concept of volunteerism was inspired. And in this I also communicated the establishment of a Rotary Club in Somalia through the PDRC and also with the students. And when I was here, there were characters and interactors, and those who they can engage the young students from the university and the secondary school, something I'm looking forward into, and where the students they can also help me with that. The students have also organized a lunch, whereby they have honored, they have given a honor certificate to me and the other facilitators who have also helped us. The financial, because the financial was crucial in the implementation, and the PDRC in kind was very helpful, and also I will not forget the contribution of our Rotarian Chris Ross, who was very success and who was part of the success of the implementation of this project, and he was there from the mentoring, the stage of my application to the last stage of my And after I finish my presentation, I will also honor to give Chris Lotz 2 minutes to also say something. We have ended the program with certificates, and which was signed by me and Peter Singh, and as a peace fellow. And also in the second picture is a tweet from one of my students on the public speaking. She was presenting at PDRC talk on behalf of the students, and her speech went viral. And this person who is a politician and a former presidential candidate for Puntland, who have also acknowledged the public speaking of Fortune, where he said amazing speech by Fortune and the Rahman on PDRC skills training team, speaking on behalf of the educated and the training group of the 45 girls to keep the spectrum of skills every day, very outspoken and talented girl with super presentation. This is actually a motivational, Fortune sent me this from Twitter. Someone sent to Fortune and she actually sent to me. This is a recognition by the public of the Somali leaders on the work we have done. We have this also the honor certificate I received on behalf of the Rotary Center, and that is under my name, but this is for the Rotary Center. Some of the recommendations you want to have, I left a photo group of some of the mentors and the speakers also who came, and some of the trainers together with the students. The idea of the social initiative, it was very good. It came from the Peace Fellows, and I will encourage the same spirit whereby people know what they can do back and the challenges they need to address. Set up funds to provide easy stress and also to the Peace Fellows. Set up fund will be very recommended. I went through a lot unless Chris came to my rescue, whereby also contributions from other Rotarians in Canada. The continuity of the initiatives to reach wider community, and even after the fellowship, I would recommend the Peace Fellows to also continue only with the Peace project. And here, since due to my contract, I cannot continue alone. I had problems related to ethicals from my office, which I have to submit a request to the highest level. And this through the youth group, I was very happy that the students, they have come up with the idea youth group. So through them and the youth group, I will also continue to implement the plan and as a team. And also the organization that was helping me, they really liked the idea and they also want to continue with it. And they are also having sources for funds, which in the good thing is the idea that I generated that will continue and support both the PDRC and the students in their youth groups. And the linkage between the Peace Fellows to share ideas and lessons, this is something that the Peace Fellows are doing, and I will encourage you to continue this so that we can also support and advise other upcoming projects. Some of the references, the unemployment in Somalia the graduate unemployment in Somalia is very high, and the university, East Africa University, in Cairo, they have done research through Somalia, and in my research also implementation, the Sarah Longwy empowerment theory of change was also something I was looking into, and also the economic development, and also empowering women and the social economic development of an issue by Johanna Mohammed was something I was also trying to look at. Also the UNHCR empowerment, the former refugee and the beneficiaries of the empowerment project of the UNHCR, is something I was also looking into. And in this regards, I have a few documentary, and you will speak for yourself, and these are also the questions.
I believe what she presented represent the work she has done for empowering women. I love the testimonies I have seen through, the pictures and the people participating. I believe as she's presenting, you're taking note of a few insights, a few questions. We have a 2 hour ahead of us, and I pray that we can engage Amina and other presenters so that they get the best out of this. Reverend Simon Masiga, I'm part of the facilitators for the fellows. I belong in the Department of Religion and Peace Studies, and I'll be supporting in moderation for this session. We're going to have Ronald come next. We believe at a certain point a video of Amina will be glad to watch it as the technical support is working on that. We want to also work through to see how to support the laptop to be closer to Ronald for his presentation. Yes, if we can have that and then we are able to do that. Ronald, let me give you a few minutes as they put up your presentation to do some introduction.
In all those processes, many people become casualties, and many of them get disabled for life. But also in those processes, persons with disabilities are abandoned because many times their relatives and friends run away for safety, and sometimes they cannot go along with persons with disabilities. I one time shared a story with my colleagues that during the civil war that brought this government, the incumbent government to power, my mom had to abandon me in a nearby bush. I was young, but she was alone. She also had other siblings of mine, so she could not, there was no way how she could carry me along. So as for a solution, she had to carry me fast and, hid me in a nearby bush and just told me, Ronald, be here, be very quiet. If we survive, I will come back for you. So, I'm telling you what conflicts can be for persons with disabilities. The systems are disrupted, okay? There are systems that we develop naturally, okay, for support. That I know if, for example, I got an accident, I know around Makerere I can call Dr. Ellen. Or I can call somebody, I know the people to call. But now during the conflict, all such systems break up. And you have no other support except God and for yourself. As refugees, people run. Those who manage to escape to go to seek refuge, to go in settlement camps, I want to tell you that persons with disability are discriminated. Sometimes the discrimination is not intentional, but the way, the nature, it's a situation of conflict, a situation of, everything is not normal, so it is very worse. The situation is very worse for persons with disabilities, and as a result, they are discriminated. They cannot go to queue for food, not because they are not able, but the environment is not conducive for them. You may have a wheelchair, but the wheelchair may not be even useful for mobility because of the way things are configured within a settlement context. But also, persons with disabilities during conflicts need the more protection. Their protections are more heightened. Think about women with disabilities. Weak as they are, but also they are women. They are, more likely to be prone for rape. They are raped, and there are no medical attention, so they are on their own. Such is the context for persons with disabilities. Ironically, it is very ironic. In peace building processes and recovery programming, persons with disabilities are excluded. They are not considered, yet they are the very persons who suffer more. But again, when we are rebuilding our nation, our societies, our communities, they are not invited on the table. Sometimes I say your it is not direct, but you may inadvertently exclude them by the structure of organizing, how we configure things and processes. Their interests are not mainstream. Many times, after everything is done, that's when you think about their person with disabilities. Then you start running around for some way of bringing them on board. When harm has already been made, they are not part of the mainstream. I used to be, let me tell you this, I used to be a gender student, and I learned about this glass ceiling, for women. Glass ceiling simply means that the invisible barrier that prevents women, to climb the hierarchical ladder of leadership in different contexts. I also want to talk to you about the glass ceiling for persons with disabilities. Okay? When I was coming here, I had to be carried, Under universal design, if you new person with disabilities could be in at this position to address ladies and gentlemen, it would be universal design. It would be, by default, that I just, will and come to the podium. But my colleagues from Close had to tell me, I say, sometimes it's not intentional, but I'm very happy that we are part of the team that brings change in Africa and the world. We need to just make systems inclusive so that persons with disabilities are part and parcel of rebuilding, so then their needs and their interests will not be forgotten. So, the most important issue is that sometimes when you look at a person with disability, you think that their needs or their interests are specialists in nature. And when I say you, I'm talking about development partners, the people who are responsible for planning for development. Okay? So they think the needs of persons with disability are specialists. That is very wrong. The very needs we need as persons who are having any disabilities are the very interests that persons with disabilities have. And their goal is to have access so that they can participate in the mainstream processes. Of course, you can't be perfect. You are going to ask me, but disability is different. Some people are deaf, some people are blind, others are physically disabled. How are we going to make sure that we build for all? Okay. What we want is that to have at least as inclusive environment as possible, but we also think about reasonable accommodation. Reasonable accommodation simply means some simple adjustment, okay, to meet the needs of a particular person with disability. So, yes, disaster strike. We recently had COVID, and the call was wash your hands. And we ended up a situation whereby a person with disability could not wash their hands. And they are in such a situation because the structures were not accessible. We are not accessible because they were designed without the mind of a person with disabilities. So for us to say that if you are not paying attention to the needs of persons with disabilities, we call that discrimination and abuse of their human rights. And we have international frameworks that protect the interests and the human rights of persons with disabilities. We talk about the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Article 19, singled out here, it talks about independent living of persons with disabilities. But persons with disabilities cannot be independent if they are not included. We have also the African Charter of Human and People's Rights. We have the SEDAI framework for disaster risk reduction. And we have the SPHERE principles. All these frameworks within the context of the humanitarian emergencies, and we talk about the accessibility, universal design, emphasize the interest of persons with disabilities. Research shows different. I was privileged, along with my other fellows, to move across the country, visiting different areas of development, refugee camps and other development areas. I thank the localities so much for this exposure. I had the opportunity to personally ask implementers of the program how they met the needs and interests of persons with disabilities. And you know what? They kept saying, we work with the partners. And you know what? When they talk about working with the partners, they are talking about some organizations of persons with disabilities. Some of them, you know, work on rehabilitation. Ronald doesn't have a wheelchair, Ronald needs the artificial Ronald, and that is medical interest. Yes, that's very important for us, but we also want to go to school. I want to see a mainstream school having children with disabilities. I mean, because these are strategic needs, this is the only way how society is going to change. Okay? And also, how do you feel when you call for a seminar to sensitize person with disability come and you don't have the mechanism to serve them? So, however, I also learned that most of these partners were very willing and interested in including persons with disabilities. The was lack of access to professional support services that were required for persons with disabilities for their effective participation. Okay? Someone asks, okay, I don't know where to get a sign language interpreter. Now, if I bring people with the hearing environment, how are they going to benefit? You know, I don't, you know, so they didn't know, they thought they didn't know where to get access to professional support services despite their willingness and the affordability to support persons with disability. The biggest problem was where to access professional support services for persons with disabilities. So, then, that's why I focused my social change initiative on providing support services for persons with disabilities. That was the problem. But again, I want to draw your attention to the fact that the problem was not lack of support, because in Uganda, Chambo University trains professionals to provide this support. But also these professionals are trained by organizations of persons with disabilities. UNAM, Uganda National Association of the Deaf, UNAM, Uganda National Association of the Blind, INUDIP, National Union of Disabled Persons of Uganda. But the problem was how to access these support persons after the training. You know, after training, they disappear. And they couldn't be traced back. So, my social change initiative had the objective. The objective was to design an online platform to link support service users with professional providers. To identify support providers, train them, and have them sign up for accounts on that online platform. But also to create awareness and promote the online platform through traditional and new media. And then seek partnership with organizations of persons with disabilities to contribute, because they are the targeted consumers of this service. Yes, among the activities we co-design, we have to facilitate co-design workshops. Why co-design workshop? Because, well, I am a person with disabilities, but I happen to have a physical disabilities. Their colleagues, my colleagues, for example, with hearing impairments, they understand that area more than I do. Others with the mobility, okay? So we had to engage in many co-design workshops, but also intentionally reaching out to organizations of persons with disabilities to exchange views, to exchange ideas, how we could do this better. We also had to train, okay? We also had to train professional support services. Now you are going to ask me why support when they are already trained. So you find that because after training, they will take long time without finding work. Not because work was not there. Many organizations wanted to persons with disabilities. The challenge was to find support persons to support this process. Many persons with disabilities were out there who needed access to support persons, but they would not go through. Sometimes they call organization of persons with disabilities. Look here, we need to identify support. But these organizations sometimes could not help persons with disabilities because they also keep just a few around 2-3 support persons to help them around. So we thought we needed also to give these people training, refresher courses, to sharpen them on what to do in support. Already they are trained, but they needed also the professionalism. How to handle a person with disability. Many times you go to a conference like this one, but then you meet the reception. Instead of the reception asking you, and he's busy asking my support person, what is his name? And that is an insult, you know. So we needed to train them on how to retain the dignity of persons with disabilities while supporting them. Okay, we from the inclusive workshops, co-design workshops, after training professional support services, our design team managed to design an online platform, both as an application, mobile application on phone, but also as a web-based platform, where professional support services created accounts, signed up, but also where support service users also signed up for services. When I say professional support users, I talk about persons with disabilities, but I also talk about development partners. Okay? So if Makerere wanted to recruit support for persons with disabilities, you don't shift the blame to a person with disability that do you have somebody to support you? And that is overburdening that person. Maybe that person is alone and has got an opportunity to come to university. What you have to do, we give you a resource where you go, create an account, and identify support that you need to support these people. Currently, our support provided here, we provide professional support services and on mobility guides. We also provide sign language interpretation. We also provide personal support assistance. We also have captioning for those who are hard of hearing, who can't hear you well, so they benefit from captioning. We also have tactile. Tactile is for people who are deaf blind. They are deaf but also blind, so they benefit from tactile. So we managed to launch our platform, both mobile application and web-based, and we named it Dasans. We shall see ahead why we called it Dasans. Dasans means Diversity Ability Support Network System. So yes, how to request services with Dasans. Yes, you simply have to open an app on your mobile phone, or you access Dasans website on your computer. You request service, you click request service, you log on Dasans account. When you are inside, you select the type of service you need. So if you want sign language interpreter, you go to sign language interpreter. Don't go to mobility when you want sign language interpreter. So you go to sign language interpreter if you want an interpreter. So when a list of support persons who are there will pop up. Of course, with a brief description of what they do, their location, and the amount charged. This is very important because if you are in Kulu, then you don't need to book somebody who is in Kampala. If you are in Mandala, you don't have to book somebody who is in Kulu. So this that's why the location of this person is very important. So you select the preferred support person and go. Of course, the process is longer. You get a customized, you get where to pay, and then you pay, and then you receive a receipt in your email, and then the booking is done. The person, if available, will reply. If not available, will regret and it will not proceed. Okay, we have also promoted we have promoted the application, and on TV, of course, despite a few limitations, but we have managed to promote it. So about the impact, about 70 support persons and 35 users have already signed up for their account. Others choose to reach out, they just call in. I think for challenges of digital access, digital illiteracy, that's why they choose to just call directly for support instead of doing it themselves online. Steps also are being taken to explore how government entities could tap into this resource. Partners are coming on board to support this impactful initiative. For example, the United States of African Women Foundation and City Foundation have already confirmed funding to develop this further. Destiny has also been ranked among the top 10 most impactful companies out of the 150 companies that participated in the Pitch to Save the World competition that was funded by the Ideal Foundry and Potters Africa. Of course, sustainability, we registered a company called the Diversity Support Network System to take charge so that this work goes beyond the social change initiative being presented here. We want this work to continue so that many lives of persons with disabilities are impacted. We hope also that government will take on these services in the future because they have an obligation under the social protection to meet the extra costs of persons with disabilities. Of course, the challenges, among the challenges, I want to read, but let me end this. Among the challenges that we had limited access to resources. We started from scratch and depended on volunteers and other wishes, but we managed to do this. Another challenge is that digital illiteracy. Some people are still digital illiteracy. They don't know how to use computers so much. This also, in a way, affected our progress. And of course, the inadequate inclusive culture among the women stakeholders. The conclusion is that, based on the social change set objective, the project achieved the greater percentage in terms of deliverables. However, it is a project with such a big scope that requires more time and funding for even greater impact. In this way, it remains work in progress. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ronald. There wouldn't be any better person to represent the people with disability in the way you have done it. I was looking forward to interact with the achievements and the outcomes of the initiative. Thank you, Ronald, for dedicating that time and the resources and networking with people to have that done. And I believe good work done deserves another. So I believe there will be opportunity for more funding for that to be escalated. Ladies and gentlemen, I take this honor to also let you know that amidst us, we have our area host coordinator, District Governor nominee is Net, our first female District Governor. And you're very welcome to be amidst us. We have just started the presentations and we'll be running through today and tomorrow, and we'll be happy to always interact with our leaders because they support the initiative, they support the center, and they support the projects that the Peace Center, the Rotary Peace Center runs. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to borrow your attention for a few minutes to allow the Dean of Students make a few comments. She had requested that she should listen to a few presentations, then she make a few comments, and then we will pick on with more presentations. Then Amina has requested that her mentor is currently in Canada and is logging online. Would love to make a comment on our presentation. We shall also give opportunity to that.
Disabilities a support center, and the interventions therein in your presentations are very inspiring, and I promise that I will get in touch with you to tap your expert knowledge in the area of disability. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean. Ronald, that's the comment I made shortly, that a good work deserves another. Already that's a partnership open for us. Technical team, can we listen to the mentor for Amina?
And from Rotarian Gloria, who's our Rotary Peace Fellow Chair, and from Rotary Club of West Bank the Sunrise. It's been a tremendous honour to work with Amina and the work that she's done. We heard today that all Rotary's areas of focus lead to peace, and that is true. But I think that providing opportunities for a voice for women and equality is very, very important and benefits all. So I just want to and also I'd like to say thank you to Helen Kabala for her tremendous work in mentoring the cohort. So thank you very much indeed. Congratulations to Amina, congratulations to all the cohort, and thank you for all the good work you're doing, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Amina, you share with your mentor that we are very delighted and very grateful as a university, as a faculty, as a peace center to have him support you through the process of doing your social initiative. Now, I want to take my greatest honor to invite Paul for the next 20 minutes to present to us the initiative on youth conflict prevention and development in Chivali refugee settlement. Paul, you're welcome to come and take us through that in the next 20 minutes. For purposes of streaming, we are requesting that people to draw a little in the middle so that we are able to be represented better. Thank you.
Past District Past Vice President of International, District Governor-elect, a Board of Directors, Makerere University Trade Center, Peace Fellows, Cohort 1, Cohort 3, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, greetings. My name is Paul Mshao. I'm a refugee from Congo, but currently based in Nachivale refugee settlement in the southwest Uganda. My social change initiative is a continuous work that we have been doing in Nachivale as a road tractor. But this time around, we have focused on peace building process, mainly on youth conflict prevention and development. Chivare refugee settlement is composed, our population is roughly 150,000 refugees from different countries. We have 13 countries which are represented in the Chivare refugee settlement, and 75% of the population are youth. And these youth, as the principal highlighted in this presentation, they still face the same challenges like any other places: lack of jobs, homeless, and this contributes a lot to criminals and violence. So my social change initiative has focused on training the youth by empowering them with knowledge, survival skills, and how they can change their communities. For the first stage, I started by training the youth in terms of empowering them with knowledge about peace building, and later on survival skills and how they can extend this to their communities. I chose 13 groups from different communities, as I mentioned, those who are coming from their different countries. I chose the focused groups. After training them, then we started to train other community youth. The first stage, after training them, we recruited other NGOs that are operating in Achivale to come on board and listen the challenges that youth are facing. When we were interrogating them, we asked them what are the main challenges that youth are facing here, basically in Achivale. Some of their responses, they were talking about the barrier of language. The NGOs that are operating here, they don't give them a chance to employ them because they don't know the language that is spoken here in Uganda. And the main language that they should learn was English, and yet they don't know English according to where they came from. Another challenge was the NGOs that are operating in Achivale refugee settlement. They sit in their offices, they don't go down to the villages and listen from them. Another challenge was source of income, how they can start business and how they can be supported. They don't know where they can ask their services. So my social change initiative was first of all to start a youth center in Achivale refugee settlement where all youth can submit their problems. After the creation of the youth center, we started our activities. We started inviting people, especially police, OPM office, and other NGOs that are operating in Achivale to come and hear from the youth. When they asked them the main challenge, they told them, you sit in your offices, you don't listen about our problems. So for now, there is a good progress and a good partnership between the NGOs and the Office of the Prime Minister and other sectors, government sectors like police. We have started activities, especially economic activities, with the youth, so that we can avoid some of the challenges that have been reported several to the police stations caused by the youth, especially taking drugs, prostitutes, fights in the communities caused by youth. And the officials started, we talked to the officials so that they can listen from the youth and see how we can use youth in a positive way, how they can contribute to the peace building in the communities. For us, it has not been a big challenge because through Rotary activities, through my club, it has been smoothly, and we have achieved almost 70% of the activities that we are doing in the community. But still we are calling upon, because this social change initiative is not going to stop. We want to empower very many youth, and still we are recruiting, we are getting new refugees from different countries. Last month we received other new refugees from DRC. So we can see that there is still this problem of training youth several times. So far we have trained more than 300 youth in the camp. They are doing activities like economic activities, including poultry farming, fishing, carpentry, welding, and other activities that help them to make a living in Achiever. We are also drawing MOUs with the community leaders and disseminate peace and development information to community centers, OPM offices, community leaders, and other NGOs. Inputs, we need financial resources, human resources, and we are calling upon especially OPM to provide land for youth so that they can keep on doing economic activities. Recently, I received Dr. Charlotte when she came to visit Nativale. She testified that she visited some of the activities that the youth are doing on the ground until they felt tired and they returned back. But the youth, they wanted them to stay around and see and visit their activities that they are doing. They are contributing on economic development. At the same time, they are creating peace, whereby recently they were not doing anything. We have also established a self-reliance strategy to the refugees, youth. And these activities, they are helping them. They are building peace in our community. We are calling upon different partners to join us as we create positive environment in the refugee setting. Thank you.
Let's appreciate Paul one more time. Thank you, Paul, for training and empowering the youth. You know, they have a lot of energy, and you want to maximize on that energy. They have very innovative ideas, and you want to maximize on those ideas. We appreciate the initiative, and since you say that's still work in progress, also there's more work done, we want to ask that you continue with the initiative since you have been empowered with the knowledge through your fellowship. We are looking forward to greater outputs. Thank you. I appreciate Paul once again for me. Allow me now, without wasting any minute, invite Patience to present to us.
It was named the Peace Journalism Initiative in Zimbabwe, whereby we're training journalists on conflict-sensitive reporting. So this was a 4-month training program for young journalists based in Zimbabwe. I managed to have over 20 journalists, which were selected from across the country's provinces, 10 provinces. We had 8 women journalists, and initially it was 10 women and 15 male. But you know, with the challenges of data and connectivity, we ended up training 12 journalists, 22 journalists, sorry, with 12 male, then 10 female. So we started on 1 September, and our guest of honor was the Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services. For our training, we had renowned peace journalism experts from the US, from Nigeria, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. And from the US, we had Professor Stephen Youngblood from the Park University. He was our lead trainer for the initiative. So the main purpose or the main goal of the initiative was to equip journalists with the right attitude and aptitude to report on peace on the continent. So it's also meant to inculcate a sense of responsibility in how journalists handle disagreements, political contestations, election coverage, and political crises. So that's one of the major objectives of the training. Why did I embark on peace journalism? In Zimbabwe, there's a growing wave of media-instigated violence. In many instances, local media is biased and embedded with the state. So there's a lot of propaganda going around in different media houses. And most of the time, they try to cover up information from government and the public, thus restricting people's right to information. So, especially towards election time, it has already started, journalists exploit the suffering of the people, and they manipulate news through unbalanced and unethical reporting that serves the purpose of politicians but not Zimbabweans, and thereby, at the end of the time, fueling conflict. So, my initiative was based on a UNESCO report, 2019, titled Elections and Media in Digital Times, which showed the growing prevalence of disinformation and propaganda in the coverage of Zimbabwean election. So, like I highlighted earlier on, the whole initiative was to equip practicing journalists and students with the right attitude to report on peace, or to, also to inculcate a sense of responsibility on how they handle competing ideologies. And at the end of the day, it was to strengthen the role of journalists in peace building and conflict transformation in Zimbabwe. So, on the pictures here, you will see logged in the journalists joining us. It was a virtual program. Initially, it was supposed to be physical, but because of the Omicron variant at that time, we couldn't go ahead with a physical meeting. So we had to resort to a virtual training program. So we had 22 joining in with the minister supporting us, the government of Zimbabwe. We also managed to get the National Reconciliation Commission of Zimbabwe coming on board as well to give journalists a background on what Zimbabwe's stride has made on peace and reconciliation, taking into account the Burundi genocide in the 80s and where the steps that they have taken to address such issues as a country, so that the journalists can have an appreciation of the peace situation in Zimbabwe. We also managed to have on board the Rotary Club of Chituwiza, which was very supportive. It's a club that endorsed my application. They were very supportive to bring on board that Rotary is doing in Zimbabwe and in Africa. So I got another picture with Professor Stephen Youngblood. He was the lead trainer. He would equip the journalists with the peace journalism techniques and skills. So like I highlighted earlier on, we're journalists, we're storytellers, and short filmmakers and web journalists are benefiting from this, drawn from both state media and private media. So from Nigeria, we managed to have a presenter coming in, giving us the context of how the media in Nigeria is covering the Boko Haram conflict. This was to give appreciation to the journalists so that they understand how other countries are handling conflicts, especially armed conflicts. So we had Dr. Samuel Odogo from the National Open University of Nigeria taking journalists through that session. We also had the privilege of having a presenter from Uganda. She is a journalist who covered the Lord's Resistance Army conflict in northern Uganda, Gloria Achiro. She took us through her experiences, her lived experiences, on how she handled that conflict, the challenges that she faced, and also imploring on fellow journalists on how they can improve their covering, desist from disinformation and propaganda when covering conflicts. Also, much support was received from the Institute of Economic and Peace, and every child is here. They really rendered so much support during my initiative. With the technical support, they managed to take the journalists through the positive peace framework to understand the pillars of positive peace. And also with an MOU with IEP, they certified all the journalists who participated in certificates in the training program as well as in the positive peace academy. And my mentor, Dr. William Taibo, also took us through the concepts of conflict-sensitive reporting and media literacy, where we also equipped the journalists with the skills on how to identify fake news, desist from disinformation, misinformation, as well as how we can use digital media to spread the messages of peace. Usually with media, we always say if it bleeds, it leads, meaning negative stories, they sell a lot. Whenever there's an accident, they'll ask you how many people died. If there's none, to journalists, it's not a story. But if you say 15, then you know that this is a story to get the papers selling. So we were trying to equip the journalists and with that knowledge that even a peace story can sell a newspaper, especially if it's well written. And here we're encouraging the use of human interest stories, where people are telling their stories in a way that makes someone so attached and emotionally invested in that story. So they were also given skills in human interest writing. We also managed to collaborate with two universities in Zimbabwe, which have schools of journalism, the National University of Science and Technology, and Harare Polytechnic College. They also brought students from their college to listen in and have an appreciation of what is that we call peace journalism and how they can actually incorporate it into their curriculum. And actually government employed these schools and as well as our educational body to have peace journalism as a module for all students across the board. As long as you're studying journalism, you're supposed to have that module. My training was divided into 4 virtual trainings. So there was a basics of peace journalism, including peace and electoral. Then there was also the role of peace building in media literacy, the positive peace framework in journalism information skills, and we also looked at reconciliation and conflict resolution media project. So here we assign each journalist to pick a project that they want to focus on during that 4 months. So they were to identify either peace journalism, reconciliation, or a conflict resolution media project. And they embarked on this one for 3 months because they started from October up to December. Then thereafter we had to go through the presentation and assessment of the project that they highlighted. This was mainly to see if they would gathered and also internalized the skills and techniques that they received. And so to measure our impact, we managed to collect a catalog of news and feature stories and programs that were produced during that 4 period to see if they contained the principles of peace journalism. We also had a comparative survey of journalist participants before and after. So we would look at their stories before they were into the project and after the training. Was there any difference? The language which was not being used, we're looking at, was there still hate speech or blame game within that political reporting? We also took some testimonials from the participants. What is it that they learned from the project and how is it helping them in their day-to-day reportage? So from that, we noticed that we had a positive impact as there was increased knowledge on peace building and conflict transformation among the 22 journalists. The reporting included peace efforts such as mediation, negotiation, and peace education. So we saw that they were now able to analyze and look beyond just the story, but look also at the root causes. What are the issues behind this conflict? What are the issues that should be addressed? So it was more solution-based, their reportage. We also noticed that there's an increased sense of responsibility in their political reportage. Previously, we would see blame game, name calling, and inflammatory language. But after reviewing that their stories and their photography, they showed that they were now adhering to the professional and ethical standards of objectivity and balance, giving all political parties a voice and providing context. And now they were able to humanize the victims, something which was they had not ignored in the past. There was also improved story handling and diversification of sources, meaning that they were now able to look at different sources. There was accuracy, fair and relevant reportage. So what does this mean for Zimbabwe? When we started this project, for me, initially it was just a social change initiative for my career since I was a Rotary Peace Fellow. But the moment I started the training, I realized that we need this as a permanent feature in Zimbabwe. You know how it's like when you go for elections every time, there is violence, political instituted violence, which the media also has a role to play, to suppress or even reduce that. So I managed through my mentor, Dr. William Taibo, I managed to establish a Southern African Peace Journalism Network. So the network has been registered in the laws of Zimbabwe on 5 October. The organization will continue to train journalists in Zimbabwe and the region on peace journalism. And whilst this was a 4-month thing, we managed to get a sponsor after we started realizing the impact of the project. Well, initially, we didn't have funding, but when they started to realize that this project has managed to create some impact, the US Embassy in Zimbabwe, they came on board to say, we want to sponsor this next cohort, which will be running for 1 year, starting August 2022 to July 2023. All modalities have already been put in place. They're going to fund it to the tune of $25,000 US. We have identified 20 journalists, 10 from the northern part of the country, 10 from the southern part of the country, who will take part in the second cohort. So the other thing that has been happening with this peace journalism training, we don't want to only restrict it to Zimbabwe, but we want it to go global and beyond Africa. And some of the things and bring awareness and publicity. I'm happy that past Vice President Rotary is here. Last year I was invited to be a speaker at the Rotary Conference 122, and I managed to talk about my project, what I'm doing. Thereafter, I also got some Rotarians coming in, some media experts to say, how can we in our own country. Also, through this Peace Journalism Initiative, I'll be able to attend the Rotary Presidential Conference in Boston, Texas, to also take them through this initiative and how donors can come in and support different social change initiatives being done by Rotary Peace Fellows across the globe. I was also a guest lecturer at the Park University Center for Global Peace Journalism in the US to take also the students there through the Peace Journalism Initiative, giving them the African perspective so that they can get to appreciate that our challenges, they are different and how do we go about addressing some of these challenges. Working with Rotarians, they are identified peace journalism projects in Rwanda and South Sudan. They want us to train community radio journalists in those two countries. So we are working with Gloria Ashiro from Uganda. We are working with Samuel Odogo from Nigeria to establish these two projects in Rwanda and South Sudan. Then the US Embassy, since they have said they will sponsor the next cohort, we've already started to build that platform to talk about the project, how journalism should cover conflict situations, giving rise to the Ukraine issue, and how we should carry ourselves as journalists, how do we shape and frame our stories. So we've been having Twitter spaces with the US Embassy, with peace experts coming in, with governance experts coming in, and also with their academics coming in to give in comments about how we can improve this conflict sensitive reporting. And challenges that I came across as I was doing initiative, it was mainly on the editorial policy. So in as much as you equip journalists and give them knowledge, they were facing challenges that some of their stories were killed by editors who say this story is not good enough. It's not bleeding. It is not a hot story that will sell the newspaper. But at times they will rewrite these stories to give that inflammatory language, because this is what people want to read. Sadly, if you really switch on BBC, the first images that you see are those of war, hunger, starvation. This is what is perceived. I'm not sure if that's true. On your TV, or your newspaper, or you buy one. Or you want to see how people are developing or are being empowered. So these are some of the challenges that they face, the editorial policy itself. So I think in the long run, to address this, there is also need to train the media owners, the gatekeepers of information, to say, isn't that story good enough like that? So there was a consensus among journalists that this happens in many cases. They don't have control over the kind of operation of their stories, which carries by the end of the day their guideline. And another challenge was funding, initially with anticipated it to be a physical training. The end of the day will end up being virtual. And on virtual, it would be lovely if it provided journalists a stipend, and just stipend so that they can be able to be available throughout. But you realize that 3 of them from the southern part of the country where there's poor connectivity, raise those issues that we cannot keep on joining the online platform because of data challenges and internet connectivity. You know how it's like on Zoom, the next moment someone is speaking, then it's off, then someone is trying to speak, it's breaking. Those are some of the challenges that I noticed when we were implementing this initiative. So recommendations as there's need for a social change initiative fund. Rotary International through the Rotary Peace Center should avail the social change fund, because much of the time we're turning towards looking for sponsors and partners. Hence, the time is cut short, because you're trying to source from Rotary clubs, you're trying to source from organizations that will give you good feedback, so you expect by the end of next week, maybe I'll get good news, then the next thing, they're tired, and you try to follow up, and you don't get anything. So there is need to have a fund designated for the project. Then another recommendation is for Peace Fellows to have a sustainability plan. This should not be a once-off program. I think you heard how good Ronald has done, and Amina and Paul. It should not be a once-off thing. It should continue. We should continue seeing this impact and seeing the great work being done towards building peace. So, as cohort 3 fellows, you need to have a sustainability plan to say there is need for continuity thereafter. These are some of the pictures show certification from the IEP for one of our trainers. Then this one is one of my story writers. He managed to, he was supposed to produce his book last year in October, but he delayed the manuscripts and incorporated the training into his book. So he launched his book in end of December, and it's been doing really well on the international forum. I launched it in France, and he was writing on gender-based violence. But I liked how he incorporated the peace journalism in story writing. We usually say it's for the journalists, but he managed to take those skills and techniques and incorporate them into this book. I think those ones I would like to thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We will have 15 minutes for a Q&A session, so I'm going to request.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the fellows for the great initiatives that they are doing, which is really amazing. So I have a few questions for patients. The peace journalism training, which is an amazing initiative, and I think it is something that could easily be, implemented in other countries. Myself, I'm really interested. Maybe we're going to talk later on how could we also have such, initiative. But the question that I have is about how, because the training was mostly virtual, right? And so I'd like to know, first of all, how did you measure the impact of your initiative, and also in the selection process, because you mentioned that you selected journalists from different regions of your country. So how was the selection process happen? How did you make sure that you were fair in identifying and giving the opportunity to those who really needed such a training, and also about the sustainability? How are you ensuring that your trainees are really using the skills that you give them in their everyday's work? So that's my question for questions. And to Donald, the question, you mentioned this platform that you created. And of course, I know, I think it's something that for the services to be provided, I think people need to pay. How do you ensure that people with disabilities that don't have the means, to pay for your services, how do you make sure that everybody is served? Because when we talk about inclusivity, we also need to think about those who don't necessarily have the means, to access. And I think those who don't have the necessary means, I think their number might be even higher than those who could afford. So how do you balance this and make sure that this is really serving those who are in need? Thank you very much.
Do we have any other question? Do we have any other question?
very much. First of all, I want to congratulate all the Peace Fellows who have made presentations this morning. Very impressive, and congratulations for the work that you have done over the last 9 months since you left. I think for me, one thing that I think I picked from visions and that I would like to see across the board is the sustainability. That the initiatives you started are very useful, very important, but how do you ensure that they remain, that you continue with what you have started, that we scale it up so that it can have greater impact. And I would like to hear maybe from all of you who else you're working with, coordination of people. I think from Ronald or from Anna, but which other institutions are we working with who may be doing similar work, but with whom we could partner and ensure that we scale up our work?
Okay, I'll take one more question if there is any.
Thank you all very much for your presentations. I certainly enjoyed hearing the presentations. There's one thing I heard across a number of presentations, and that was in relation to the difficulty and the time lost in getting the resources to actually deliver on the projects. The question that flows for me from that is, do you see there would be value in spending some time as part of the Peace Fellowship program in developing understanding how to pitch for resources, particularly within Rotary, the Rotary funding system is rather complex, but also outside of the project, also outside of Rotary. So I'd be interested if you feel there would be some value in spending time on that sort of course. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much. I will now request our presenters to please respond to the questions. I'll give each one of us, each one of you, 5 minutes to respond to the questions.
I think I'll start, Can you hear me? Okay. Figuring how did I measure impact? Like I highlighted earlier on, I managed to create a catalog of news stories. Well, the stories that they were produced in the newspaper, I would cut them out. I would listen to the bulletin and try to look for the techniques that would equip them with. So that catalog is the one that I used to see how if they are improving in terms of are they using language which can create a peace, not to be hate speech, or they've moved away from inflammatory language. You know, the name calling which usually happens in the newspapers. For Zimbabwe, you would understand that at times we have what we call Rarakashi, meaning people from the ruling party who descend on others on social media. So I was looking out for such words in their stories. They desisted from using such words, and even how they pitch up their stories and frame them. Is it in a peace perspective? That was one of the issues that I managed to do. Then secondly, I talked about them, giving them a media project each day to identify a media project that they wanted to do. So we assessed them in December on our closing ceremony to say you wanted to do a project on media literacy. What is that you have done as an individual? These were individual assignments that we gave them in October. So they had 3 months to work on that project. And we would assess that project as well to see how they've been faring in that project. Their projects were different. Some managed to do data journalism, using social media to promote peace. One of them used sport to say, as he was covering sport, the language that they used in sport. Because sport is also one of the contesting issues in Zimbabwe, where we have Highlanders and Dynamos. Those two teams, they create tribal wars whenever one loses against the other. And you know the language that is on social media is also not good. So they'll decide on which project they want to venture into, and we assess that project at the end of the program. Then again on impact, we had analytical testimonies to talk to them how is this program improved you as an individual. Then we would get their testimonies to say this is what has happened, this is what is happening in my newsroom, this is what is going to happen. And you would understand this is a short-term impact, but long-term we want them to strengthen their coverage in conflicts, especially in politics. Then on selection process, I put out a call for application on NGO jobs in Africa, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Twitter, and those that saw the application, the link applied. I had about 107 applicants to choose from. Selection was made by me, National University of Science and Technology, and Harvard Polytechnic College. We're looking at gender, age, and province because we wanted to have representation across the board. Age, we're looking from, because it was mainly targeting young journalists, from 22 years to 35 years. That was the age range. Then province, since it was about 25, we're looking at a representation of at least 2 or 3 per province, which we would say they have been represented very well. We picked a lot more from Harare and Bulawayo because these are the capital cities with different tribes, with different opinions and views, the way we see things. There's so much, what can I say, divisions even within the media houses. That's how I concentrate on the Chronicle from Bulawayo and Zim papers from Harare, and also pick from private versus state media, so that we have them all on board. And I would say those who managed to join, there was so much tension the first day of the workshop, because I was bringing different people, different backgrounds, different ideologies and views into one room, and which is on virtual, which was very difficult, by the way, to manage, because as one was speaking, someone would feel like, oh, okay, this contribution is not good enough, then they get into that. So to manage the piece from the workshop itself. But by the time we finished, I would say there was so much understanding. They understood each other's differences, their backgrounds, and how they can actually tap into these differences, and at the end of the day, they come up with something strong. Then sustainability for the trainers, the journalists themselves. What I picked after the training, most of them have developed interest for peace journalism and peace building in essence. And one of them, Lazarus South, managed to get the IEP ambassadorship last week because it generated so much interest in them. They've been looking at opportunities to expand on the knowledge that they gained in that short period of time. Another one applied for the one that Makerere called for, the September one. So they really want to expand on that knowledge base and go forward in the training. And okay, well, they may not be able to get into cohort 2, but I look forward on bringing them and so that they can reflect to other journalists who will come on board to give testimonies on how it benefited them in the long during that period. Then on Rotary, which we talked about sustainability plan. Mine so far is going to, I know for the coming year, I'll have another cohort of 20 and working with the US Embassy's public diplomacy section, because there's so much interest in it. Already I'm also in talks with UNESCO. They have a peace education training that they are doing, and I look to tap into that resource as well to see how we can bring about peace journalism in this peace education workshops that they are carrying across the country and the region. Then on Charlie, I think it's also important if we're equipped in grant writing as Peace Fellows, because I noticed that when we were seeking funding, approaching different organizations, we didn't have that knowledge on, say, how do I present a proposal, a budget proposal. It was back forth, because I think that's one of the things that the Peace Center should incorporate in one of our training modules, to say we should just have an appreciation on grant writing, so that when we go out there to seek for funds from different organizations, we have some knowledge on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the questions. My brother Fikiri, you asked about what about persons with disability? Will persons with disabilities afford? I want to respond to you that development comes out of challenges. You address this challenge, another challenge comes, and then when we address all that development. So what we are talking about, yes, very true. It is a big challenge for persons with disabilities. A challenge because people think persons with disabilities cannot afford, and that's not true. Some persons with disabilities can afford. Many persons with disabilities are working, and unfortunately, that kind of thinking has also been assimilated by persons with disabilities. If I talk the charity model has to be done more than good. It has made people feel that they cannot, manage, even when they can manage. They want to wait for free things. We want to change that perspective, okay? To make sure that persons with disabilities can pay. We live in a capitalistic economy. They have to pay and receive services, okay? But the challenge is life. That's why in my presentation, I told you that we are negotiating through the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, so that government can find a way of funding this initiative through the social protection obligation, okay, as an extra cost for persons with disabilities, because you need to pay for this extra support, and this is an obligation of the government to provide social protection to overcome poverty. So, but it's very true. Also, another thing we are doing, we are talking about affordability. There's also affordability because you can't access the system unless you have internet connectivity. Okay? So we are trying also to talk to the telco, MTN and Airtel, to find a way of how we can make it, when it comes to this platform, is it possible to have it in use without using data. So these are possibilities that we are trying to talk about, but there is a lot of work that is in progress. On sustainability, so what I think tell you about here because of the time factor is that already diversity identity support network system, DASANS, is registered. It is registered here as a social enterprise company. Yes, we see beyond the social initiative, okay? We want this work to progress. And I've already hinted that some funders have expressed interest. I've told you USAID has already confirmed funding, and we are waiting. It's not funding, but we have a lot of better no trade. We shall start with that. Maybe with an international will consider and say, we are funded. So that is our dream. You never know what will come out, okay? So, but that's what we are doing. We want this to go beyond the social initiative. Also what we are doing, disabled persons organization really love this initiative. And they are calling upon us to enter partnership so that we can collaboratively find funding and then we train. And they commit that they are the one, because they are the service users, main service users, they want to promote this, that they are the ones who promote this. Many partners refer to them for support, and they don't know where to get this support. So they are saying they want to promote. We need to work in partnership with them and train as more as possible, and then they promote ECUs. Also, we are talking to the Chamber University because every year they train the sign language interpreters, the mobility. So we want also the element of professionalism, how to handle different persons with disability, the do's and don'ts of relating to the person with disability, so that it will be inculcated within the curriculum. We are doing that all for sustainability. Now, I think for the last question, I want to reiterate what my sister just said. There was that gap, unless you joined the Peace Center when you had the background in resource mobilizing. Without that, then I think there is a gap somehow where we need to have that knowledge and skills of resource mobilizing. Thank you so much.
Have already organized themselves and formed a youth group, and through the youth group they are willing to continue what I started, and I also inspired a lot of them that if I can do alone, they can also do as a group. Also the organization I was working with that helped me, they are also willing to continue. They asked me if we can plan for the next trainings together jointly. And something that I feel happy about it, I started with seeing it continues, and also the community have also welcomed it. And there is a lot of self-satisfaction regarding the implementation of the social initiatives. And I gained a lot of titles, as long as I was learning, and I was also self-development. I was also developing my communication skills, training skills. I also got the title of teacher, and whenever I go to start and I was even talking to some of my friends. I was telling them maybe I need to go into education and then still continue as a teacher, because there's more respect to being a teacher and the community. And I felt that I got a community, close community. I'm a mother of 3 and been part of this 45 graduates, female young graduates. I felt I'm a mother of 48 now, and they really also felt that they mentioned that the population. Speaking, I had a small, I got married recently, and they managed to have a surprise party for me, and they gathered themselves, and I felt very honored and close to them. So it's something personally I'm willing to continue, and also I will also support the center in terms of recruitment for the cohort 4 and 5 and 6. I've already committed some. I also have some in the applications, including some who are applying for masters in other sectors.
Thank you, DG Anna. Question for sustainability. I brought this to Rotary Action Group, which is responsible for refugees, migrants, and post-displaced people. I'm a board member in that group, Rotary Action Group. So they were very much interested to work with me. Still, I got this, so I work close to Mayo Club in Chivali. We have been inducting new officers in our club who are police officers. Whenever they see crimes which are done by youth, they call us on board. We go to the police stations, we talk to them. After they do counseling, the person who has made a mistake, still bring them back to the community after counseling. Like for example, recently we had a challenge where this musician comedian came to Chivali, and some of the youth they blocked them when they were doing rallies, campaigning for the people who come to the show. They stopped that vehicle, they collected all the youth, they took them to the police immediately. When they reached the police station, a police officer told me that now you come and see your boys. They started to make violence in the community. I reached there, I talked to them, stayed there like 30 minutes, bring them back to meet them because they told me, you go and talk to your boys so that they should not bring these bad behaviors in the community. So for the sustainability issue, I work with the police officers and the OPM who are in charge of refugees, and also those project action groups that are supposed to prevent refugees and migrants. I see that there is more hope to create more change in communities, because for me I see much support through Rotary networks.
Thank you so much to the four of you. Before we go to lunch, I'm going to request us to just give a little time to our past Vice President for Rotary International, Babalola Yuka, to come and address us.
Thank you very much. First, let me congratulate you, the presenters, and those who will present tomorrow. I think from what I've seen today, tomorrow is going to be very exciting also. So you can accept your congratulations in advance. Let me say thank you to Makerere University, to Dr. Henley and your team. When this conversation started, I'm sure you may have ideas of what you thought the outcomes would be, but I think you're probably feeling better listening to what is being presented. And honestly, I feel so proud of the things, the social initiatives that have been presented. And I think these stories will make it easier to continue to fundraise for this program. So please, let's share these stories. There was an element of funding that was mentioned by almost all of you, and I was going to let you know that there is a gap that you may smartly fill. Now, don't tell anybody I told you this secret. You see, this area of focus receives the least requests when it comes to grants from the Rotary Foundation. Rotary Foundation awards grants to clubs and districts, something close to 50, 60, $70 million every year. Now we have those 7 areas of focus, and of course, clubs apply for grants to solve problems in their communities, but this area of focus receives the least application. What have I noticed is that Rotarians and the clubs have no idea of the kind of things they could do as far as that area of focus is concerned. And that is where you can come in to fill the gap. For water and sanitation, you know what to do. When you say peace and conflict prevention, what do you do? The things you are presenting here makes a lot of sense. So what am I encouraging you to do? Get closer to your Rotary clubs. Use the clubs that sponsored you as the entry point. Go to them with these proposals and say, look, for your peace program next year, typically no Rotary year starts 1st of July. So you need to be approaching them sometime in December, so that as a plan for the next year, your project can form part of what they will be supporting. And they can get small grants through what we call district grants to support little things. And our global grants, actually, we don't want small things. If it's not up to $30,000, we don't support it. So you see the opportunities that you have, they even have big funding. I'm not saying all your projects will qualify, but at least that is an opportunity that is currently not well utilized. So don't be shy of approaching your Rotary clubs. And if they ask you, tell them you understand there are district grants and there are global grants. And and that they may need ideas on the piece, what they will submit as a project under the peace area of focus. So that is the secret I wanted to offer you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. From the online audience, congratulations, Amina, Paul, Ronald, and Patience as Rotary Peace Fellowship recipients initiating transformations. And its ripple effects as catalysts toward more peace. Continued success to each of you, all communities involved, and the sustainability of these initiatives. Thank you to all the organizers making this possible to be viewed online. That is from Gloria this afternoon. Thank you very much. We're going to go have lunch, and we will have lunch for 30 minutes. At 2 p.m. we should be back here.